What's up, guys? You tuned in with Talkz with Scott. Okay, we locked in right now with Coach Chambliss. In my personal opinion, the most winningest coach in the state of Mississippi. Definitely set a record by winning 12 state championships, the first to do it before Louisville followed us up by doing it. But with that being said, I'm here and I'm very, very blessed to be accompanied by Coach Chris Chambliss. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Scott. Thanks for having me on, man. We're fixing to have a good time talking today.
Yes, sir. Coach, I just want to definitely give you your flowers, give you your roses. It's definitely for everything you've done for not only me, but for this community and for people in the state of Mississippi. You have definitely been a philanthropist inside this community. For me, looking up to you coaching from a young age. You've been coaching for this community longer than I've been alive. So with that being said, Coach, I'm very, very, very thankful for you taking out this opportunity to sit down and talk to me because you mean a lot to me, but you mean a lot to other people as well. I just want to tell you that I'm super, super thankful and blessed for you allowing me to have this opportunity talking with you, but also giving me the opportunity of doing the things that I do as well inside the community. Yes, sir. So, Coach, I want you to give me a little bit about yourself, just starting from the beginning.
Man, you know, I was born in North Alabama, but I always say I was raised in Mississippi. You know, I said the other night, you know, all my kids are born here in West Point.
Right.
And I've been here for 25 years, I think now, going on 26. So West Point's a special place. Out of all the opportunities I've had, I could have left. I stayed here, and it's for guys like you,
yes, sir.
for former players that have graduated and gone on, but still come back to give back like you do. It's uplifting to see that, because not all communities are like that.
Very true.
You know, you have a deep love for West Point and Greenway football. That's never going to change, and when if I'm ever gone, you're still going to be here.
Yes, sir.
And that's just what's so great with guys we've had to come back, and that's why I do this. That's why I've always stayed in West Point, because not to go chase the money or do this. It's for the love of the game here. You really got to love football to play it, but you really, really got to love it to coach it. And we're going to get into how this game's evolved later on. But this just but I've been here 25 years, man. I had all my kids here. I got two older boys and a 10-year-old little girl. So it's just been great. Been a great community for us to raise our kids in, but just great people here as well.
Right. When you first got started with your coaching journey, where did you start from? And before we even get into that, you played football. You was a DB.
A defensive back, tight end, with a little H back here and there. Yeah, just
all around. Yeah, yes, sir.
You know, I played it. I don't know if you remember Wayne Jones. He played it. Held the rushing record at Mississippi State before Kiefer McGee broke it. He was my high school coach, and I swear I could tell you what size shoe he wore, because it stayed up my rear end a lot. Okay, but playing for him and a couple other coaches that I had, you know, you always remember your high school coaches, and they're either going to make you hate it or enjoy it. Well, I really enjoyed it. And in Alabama, there is no JUCO football like there is in Mississippi and other states. So for guys like me that were mid-level guys that wasn't big enough to go on and play it at a larger level, you know, I had to find out what I wanted to do. So I came to Mississippi State. Went to college at Mississippi State, and with my wife that I met in junior high school.
Right.
All right, she came over here, so I followed her over here, and I, you know, just being around classes with athletes. I remember Brent Smith played with the Dolphins. He was at Mississippi State. I became friends with him in that class, and just, you know, just fit in with those guys. So I wanted to get into coaching. And I got my first job in Sturgis, Mississippi. It was the smallest 1A in the state of Mississippi. I had to coach girls basketball, boys basketball, baseball, had to help with girls softball, and I defense coordinator in football. And you really find out if you love coaching doing all that, because that was wild. And from there I went to Caledonia as a head coach. I think at the time probably was a record for the youngest head coach in the state of Mississippi. I was 24. Didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I worked my tail off.
Right.
And Dennis Allen, which was a big mentor to me, had gotten a head coaching job here in West Point, and we'd played each other in the spring game. And I guess he just liked how hard we played, because we didn't know. I didn't know. I thought I knew football, but you don't know a whole lot of football until you really stay in it a while, right? And he had me come. He asked me if I wanted to come to West Point and be his defense coordinator, and I did, and the rest is history. You know, we struggled. I spent the first 3 years at West Point wondering what the hell I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because it was, you know, West Point back in the 80s had won state championships. The tradition was there, but it had gotten off. Well, luckily, Coach Allen was in West Point with Coach Davis, Bubba Davis, whenever winning those championships, and he went to Starkville and coached with Chuck Friend in Starkville, then came back to West Point and when he got the head job, and it was tough. But he was the right guy for the job because he's the most hard-headed individual I know. He didn't take no for an answer from anybody, even the players, the administration, and you know, we just got rolling. After our 4th year, we played for state championship, and it's just, and ever since then, you know, we've had the type guys like you, the type guys that they want to win, they refuse to lose, and that refuse to lose attitude is what just makes this place so special.
Correct.
You know, my first year here, Scott, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but on Thursdays, the day before games, we'd be in the weight room doing the hardest full body workout. And you know, and you find out if the guys want to do it or not. You find out in the off season. You know, those dog day, February 22nd. It's on a Friday. Who's going to be in that weight room? Who's going to be working? Who's going to go outside and wrestle? Who's going to do those things that it takes to win? And you know about West Point guys. Nobody wants somebody else to outdo them. You know, and everything's a competition, right? So that kind of built. I think we had like 30 guys on our first team. You know, and it just grew, and you had more and more guys that wanted to buy into your program and wanted to be there. Winning's one of the best things you can ever do, man. But I said this the other night when I was talking to somebody. You really see how bad somebody wants to win when they fail. You know, they have to have failure to be able to get themselves up, dust themselves off, and with their teammates and go back to work on Monday, try to win again. You know, we've had as many games as we have won here at West Point. We've only had one undefeated season. Undefeated seasons are hard. You played at Alabama, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So when you fail, when you get beat, what are you going to do? And West Point kids, West Point guys will get themselves up, dust themselves off, and go after it again. And that's just what I think. That's the culture that you have to win. Just like at Alabama, you know, when you get beat, you're gonna have the naysayers. You're gonna hear all the noise. They're gonna talk about you. But what are you going to do the next week? What are you going to do the next week? We started out 0-2 this year, but this football team I had was very resilient with KD, Q, those guys who just refused to quit, refused to let the team quit. Right. Not only themselves, but you know, you go out there and practice with them, man. You know, we had a situation where one of our coaches started pouting a little bit on the sideline. You know, coaches still pout just like the kids. You know, things weren't going good. And KD this year said, we're not having that. You know, it's like having that. You know, I told him one time, I said, you would be a great assistant coach for me one day, you know, because he just has that it factor about him. And that, not just him, I brag on him, but it's all of them. All of them. It's just, you know, you remember this, I used to say this, we're going to go as our seniors go. Don't matter how hard I coach or how hard Coach Welch coaches or who else, we're going to go as our seniors go, because it's that leadership, that team leadership in that locker room. That's what it matters.
Yeah. And when you speak of coaches that get emotional, I've heard coaches say it's easier sometimes to deal with players than it is coaches.
Sometimes it is, and you've probably seen that on the college level too, haven't you?
Yeah. I wonder, well, how do you take the personality of winning, but also when it comes to adapting coaches who may not be used to winning and making sure they have the right fit and attitude when it comes to coaching?
You know, we've had coaches that came and gone, but you know the core group we have. It's kind of like players, Scott. If they don't buy in, they're not going to be there very long. Coaches are the same way. I've had some really good coaches come and go and move on and be head coaches and do the things, and then wanted to come back. But you have to have that core. I'm trying to think of the years. How many coaches do I have now that were there when you were there? Quite a few, right?
Yeah, Coach Quack, Welch, Morgan, Freeman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, you. That's the five. Those are the 5 guys.
Right. Coach Welch was my first hire. The hardest thing it has been for me is to hold on to him.
Right.
Because, especially in this area, I can't tell you how many times Starkville and other schools have tried to come in. I say steal my coaches. I mean, you know, give them another opportunity.
Right.
But holding on to them, and you know, I said this other night, Scott. The last 8 years I've coached the punt team, okay? Because I've got great coaches who, as a leader, you got to let them coach. You oversee them, but you got to let them coach, and you got to realize they're not trying to mess up on purpose.
Right.
They want to win just as bad or worse than I do, you know? And so that core group of coaches that you have to hold on to is key. And we've got our culture to a point, and we try to improve on it every year, but things have changed. You know, we're going to have our off-season program and our kids, but what people don't realize is a high school coach, we have them for about an hour and 15 minutes a day in the off-season, right? So there's other things they can do, sort of what you're doing. You know, that's the direction that it has to go to. We still have our off-season program, but there's other things that they can be doing, and most kids aren't going to go do them on that. They have to have somebody to oversee them.
Sure.
So I admire what you do. You know, we open our doors for you to be able to do that, and I admire you for that, because I know my kids are getting coached and not out here on the street.
Very much so.
Not getting involved in something, but they're better in their self athletically and also as a person.
Right.
Because, you know, you're kind of like us. You're not going to let them grab ass or anything like, you know, you're going to make them work and make them do right. And you're constantly, I've heard you talk, you're constantly talking about character, things that they need to be doing maybe 3 years from now, because you've been through them, what they need to be doing that's going to make them more successful 4 or 5 years down the road. And that's the direction it's headed now.
Right.
You know, back when you played for us, I say back, I mean, it's been a while, right? We did our off-season program and everybody went home. There was no, you know, because it's illegal for us to, Scott, you're going to stay after school with me today.
Yeah.
We can't do that because there are people watching our program. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've got and said, hey, y'all got kids on the practice field. I said, you see any coaches out there? No. I said, well, they can use the practice field all they want to. But paid coaches aren't out there with them, right? So it's not illegal.
Right.
You know, at a lot of places, Scott, you'd be surprised where after school or after their workout, these coaches go crazy because they're ready to go home and they want their kids gone, right? I'm not going to leave anybody unsupervised out there. I'll be sitting and fit up. And I tell our coaches all the time, leave them guys alone, because where would you rather them be?
Right.
I'd rather them be right out there working on their craft rather than down here on the street corner.
Right.
So we invite our kids to go out there. We give them a football, let them go throw whatever they want to do. But that's what I like, the direction it's going with you, is to have them constantly being coached up. I think that's going to help them. They don't like it when it's happening all the time, but they appreciate it later on in life.
That's what I tell my athletes all the time. I say, you won't see what I'm talking about and what I'm trying to prepare you for until you go and take these steps. And eventually you'll come back and you'll be like, no, Scott, you're right. And the reason why I say that is because I would tell people all the time, like, man, I ain't had nobody to tell me how it was going to be when I got to college, and I would be lying. Because people did tell me how college was going to be.
You just didn't want to listen.
I didn't want to listen to it. I didn't want to listen. And it was easy for me to say that because it was easy for me to listen to outsiders.
Yeah.
It's easy for me to listen to people that never coached a football team or people who played football 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And always could coach, quote unquote, better than the coach that was on the field. It was easy for me to, you know, oh, yeah, you right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you right. You are right. Like, they don't know what they're talking about, just that field. But there you go. And you have a distance between you. So the distance forces you to to really miss and value the things that was told to you in the beginning phases. They told coaches always tell us, because I don't care what nobody says, NIL can come around, but one thing about history is going to repeat itself.
Yep.
So when it comes to how football is football, and I tell this all my guys, I said, you're going to walk into the locker room. I'm saying, hopefully, get in the fight. Obligation. And this is why I say that, because it's going to tell you that nobody cares about your stars, nobody cares about your rankings, and the people who run this team are not the coaches, because the coaches are going to leave. A player-led team will always win championships, and I would say a coach-led team will win games here and there. But like you said before, like you always tell us, we go as our seniors go, which is very true, and that's what I've seen. We win as Reuben Foster win. We win as Ryan Anderson, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne. I mean, that whole defense. When I was in Alabama, starting playing, because I started college at 17 years old, super young. And when I was on the scout team field, my red shirt freshman year, and I was going against an NFL defense. 100% of everybody starting the defense went to the NFL. And with that basically being said, it put things into perspective of like, man, this is different. But it's also, it reminds me a lot of West Point football, because I remember when we would go and play our games, people used to come around with a bucket, players, and you have to put your phone in the bucket, because our seniors would lead it. And it didn't matter about what you said. It didn't matter about this, that, and it didn't matter, because this is how this organization, and we won games, but really and truly after 2016, after I left, then after that, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, basically people kept going on and on. But with that being said, it was like, the standard is the standard. And I need all my guys to realize that, yeah, can I get you bigger, faster, stronger? Yeah, that anybody can. I mean, if you know what you're doing, it's not hard to get a person bigger, faster, stronger. But is it hard to build character and actually build a man? And I'm still on the verge of doing it myself. But with that being said, I've done some credible things outside of football that attest to my character as a person. And I would like for these athletes you're not going to value it in the time that I'm here. And like coaching, you're not going to value your coach you're not even going to value anything until like you really get into like your peaks, like you're in. Until like, my back is against the wall, and now I got to start utilizing the things that were told to me or the things that was basically gifted to me, and I have to start using those things in my benefit to help me become the best version of myself. I learned all those things, granted, from Alabama, but before I experienced Coach Saban, I had a coach, Chris Chambliss, and they're tick for tat. And when it comes to, of course, Nick Saban's the best in the world, still to this day. But also, having a coach like Coach Chambliss that has consistently won over and over and over and over and over again, and has definitely helped out this community in ways that is impacting not only me, but guys like Marcus, guys like Justin, guys like Curtis Burgess. Let's see, yeah, you keep going on and on. Jason Brownlee. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of great people that have came through your knowledge and your tutelage. And guys, I'm pretty sure as you roam West Point and you see them out and they just hold you to this type of respect, because you do mean a lot to us. And a lot of people can talk about my decision that I made. I know this for a fact. If I would have went to Mississippi State, who knows how my career would have went. I'm pretty sure I would have played a lot sooner. And who knows, I probably would have learned some things and this, that, and feel. So my career would have been different. But me as a man, and the things that I learned under Coach Saban, I never will regret them. I never will regret them, like at all. Yeah, I had knee surgeries. My injury list is long as all get out. But I never will regret going to the University of Alabama, because it taught me so much as a man. It taught me so much of accountability. It taught me so much of, he always would tell us, it doesn't get you until it gets you. And those things are impactful in all ways of life. Yes, can we go into, if you cut short on your rep, or if you cut short on your gas or your 110, then it's gonna happen, of course, when it counts the most. So in the state championship game or playoff game, when your number is called, when it's time for you to hit that next gear, but you haven't been training that next gear, so now you pull something or you hurt something because you haven't been training it. So with that basically being said, I learned a lot of those things from Coach Saban, but not only Coach Saban, but from the guys that led us, the Cam Robinson, all the first rounders. That it was first round, everybody that I came in with, respectfully in my position or in my class. I mean, Jalen Hurts, awesome leader. Awesome leader. The exact same way that he is now is the exact same how we was when we were 17, 18 years old. Exact same. But he bought into the process. He bought into what the coaches are telling, because inevitably your coach isn't telling you anything wrong and self-sabotaging. Yes, it's to win a football game, but if you carry these tactics into life, you will become a better man. And therefore you not only become a better man, you become a better father, you pivot off and become a better community person. And I attest a lot of that to not only West Point, but also to you, because I had just a very small percentage of how things was going to be at the next level. And due to that system, due to where we were raised from, all I knew was winning. So it wasn't hard for me to make my decision. You know, I understand Mississippi State and everybody going there, but all I knew basically was winning. And all I knew really was hard work. And I'm not saying Mississippi State didn't have that, because yes, they do have it, and I respect the crap out of Mississippi State. But just at this given time, that was the pivot point. It was the point that was given to me, and that's what was the selling point to me more than anything. So it taught me a lot. But in the same sense, it taught me a lot. You guys, the whole coaching staff, Coach Welch, everyone taught me these core values that poured into me as a person, into a man, and still do to this day. And when I come back, it's always humbling to see that these guys didn't just put on this front. This was actually who they were as men. You know, it's mind blowing to me, but at the end of the day, it keeps me in check. And also, when I come into the field house, I owe every athlete that I train, but especially the guys from the city, my due diligence of really and truly trying to push this. I would say the things that I wish that was pushed on me. You know, and it's hard to do because you really don't appreciate something if it's so easy accessible to you until, like, you know, it's no longer that easy accessible.
You know, I told somebody that you were in a conversation. I'm not going to tell you who it was. And I said, yeah. And well, a bunch of coaches, all of us coaches were talking, and I said, you know, Scott helped us this year being a psychiatrist for our kids. Because they won't always come talk to the old guys. Right. You know, I don't have really young coaches anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, and so, you know, I said, Scott, you know, and I remember telling you, especially when we started out 1-2, hey, texting you saying, Scott, help us out with these kids, because they listen to you. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know, I can't tell you what's going to happen here because it's not done yet, right. But I think you know. Mm-hmm. And so that's who I was talking to, and we were talking about you, and I said, you know, you need to do everything you can to make sure Scott stays around. Right. You know what? And that's what he was asking me. Do you think he'll stay around? I said, yeah, he's going to stay around. He ain't going nowhere. You know, because nobody else is going anywhere. So, and we were talking about how well you help us with with the psychiatry of the kids, helping talking to them, because these kids go through stuff that we can tell them and try to help them all we want to, but they need to hear it from guys who've gone through it before.
And when they stop listening to me, then I will easily get them on the phone, like, who is your favorite athlete in the NFL? And luckily, it's somebody that I play football with. I'm like, okay, I'll let you talk to them. And I'll get them on the phone just for them to say the exact same things that you were saying, I was saying. Because it doesn't matter really and truly how old someone is, because I keep reiterating it, that history will replay itself, and things will continue to. We're not reinventing the wheel. Yeah, money has been different. NIL is completely all the way out there. But with that being said, no, it's like these things. Football is still 100 yards long and however many yards wide. So with that being said, it's going to be the same things. But I do understand completely what you're saying, because I never forget. KD has respectfully played his best games when I would send him screenshots of like other players.
He don't like being outdone by anybody.
Yeah, he's so competitive. He's so competitive, but it's great. It's great. And I never forget, played Tupelo. And as we were playing Tupelo, before you played Tupelo, I had put in a group message. It was actually a group message with my junior high kids that I trained from up there. And he didn't know that, and I didn't want him to know that. So I put Tupelo SLP on it. And with that being said, there was a kid in there that said something like, whatever we finna do to KD. And I screenshot to KD and I put in the group message to KD. He said, bet. He said, bet. And of course, if you want to lead a team, then Grant, you have to find the leader itself. So with that being said, and with him, Q, and other players on the team, but those two guys being granted the face and will be willing to go to lengths to make sure everything is staying in place to win, I went to him. And with that being said, he went on to spread the energy throughout the team, and then I went to that game. And by me going to that game, because everybody counted West Point.
You reminded them on the sideline,
yes,
too.
Everybody counted West Point out.
You know, it was funny. During the game, I think that was the most intense sideline. Mm-hmm. Besides probably the state championship game was pretty intense, but that was an intense sideline. Clarksdale was pretty intense. And I'm not talking about just the players, I'm talking about the adults. Because, look, you know, I've got a huge entourage. Love every one of those guys, and everybody serves a purpose. Sure. All right. But everybody on the sideline was intense, man. The face you could see, and I think I was probably more intense than usual. That just up and down the sideline, because I was pissed. Yeah. I was ready to go, you know. And our game plan worked that night. That's the thing about our kids. You know, you tell KD and them, you know, this is going to be a phone booth game. You tell our defense, hey, if we get 4 stops tonight, we're going to win the game. Well, that night we got 5. You know, and our defense is, you know, they were so locked in, and we were getting better and better on defense. Coach Heron does such a great job, and he was upset at me earlier in the year because I wasn't getting on him. And I said, we had this talk this summer. We knew the direction our defense was going to be. We were going to struggle early. Until everybody, the young kids settled in, we got more people on the field and got them some experience, and then we just took off. But that was an intense game, man, and even seeing you on the sideline being intense, you know, because you're not always like that.
I remember when everybody was like, Coach Arnett coming to the game. He flying the helicopter to the game. And so as if Coach Arnett is coming down, usually if I see a coach that I know, I always walk over and speak to him. But he walked down, the game was still going on. I looked over there and threw my hand up, but it's football is such a unique sport because it's like I'm very, very, very like I would say superstitious. So I'll be like, maybe if I stand in this point, I stand right here on this sideline on this particular area, and they go in, they get their first down, they convert, I'm not gonna move. Like I don't know why I'm like that, or even when I would go in and play my games the night before a game, if I had a good game the following day, I would really want to relive that exact same thing over again. But with that being said, no, I was super, super intense. There was no letting up. You couldn't let up. It was like you couldn't, because at the end of the day, those guys, and I love them, but they, you know, they went and they said what they said. They respectfully wrote a check their ass can cash. But with that being said, still great, tremendous group of young men. But at the same time, what I was following up with when it came to KD, when it came to just seeing the year that he has had, I have 2 questions. First question I would say is how have you enjoyed the development of KD from seeing him 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade?
You know, in the 9th grade, Coach Freeman, you know, Coach Freeman's such a great, he's our handler. When I say handler, something needs to be done that maybe you don't need to know or this or that, he makes sure it gets done for each individual kid. And our kids know that. You know, they'll come ask me for something, I say, all right, Coach Freeman's gonna handle this for you. I don't need to know anything else. You know, Freeman, and Free gets it done. You know, and he's the son of a O-line coach that coached at Mississippi State. Coach Freeman, his dad coached for Coach Sherrill at Mississippi State. So anyway, he's been around a long time, and he knows how to get certain things done that need to get done. My coaching has shifted now because this day and age of, you've got to score a lot of points to win this day and age with the evolving offenses, right? You can be really good on defense. You take the wrong angle or miss one step here or there, they're going to score 40 on you. So KD, his sophomore year, spring training, running the football, or his from freshman. You know, he's gonna be the sophomore next year. I saw real quick this dude when he gets in the zone, there is no stopping him, and it's nothing flashy.
Yep.
It's not like he runs a 4.40, okay? But you're not going to tackle him. If you need 3 yards, he's going to get you 4. If you need against Knoxville this year, if you need a touchdown, I mean, we're ticking. I mean, it's 40-something to 40-something, right? You need a touchdown. You know, I remember telling me on the sideline, just give me the damn ball and I'll score. Well, guess what? We'll give him the ball and he goes and scores. That's 7 touchdowns that game. I mean, it's just, I've never seen anything like that before, but we saw that coming.
Yep.
You know, on this development, we saw that coming from a young age. And I told the newspaper guys I talked to, the TV guys I talked to, they're like, what sets KD apart? Everybody knows he's a great player. But I'm going to tell you something, the young man is going to be highly successful, whether it's playing football, whether it's running a business, because he's so driven and he's got such great character. He will stop when he starts. Everybody has their moments, right? I pitch fits. I've never seen KD ever really pitch a fit. He gets to that point and he cuts himself off because he's telling himself, you know, that's not what I need to do. I'm better than that. And that's just a type kid he is. So he's going to be highly successful in life, no matter what he does. He's a caretaker.
He is.
He'd give you the shirt off his back. If all he had in his pocket was $5 and you needed it, he'd give it to you. It's just the type kid he is. So that development I saw at a young age athletically isn't anything compared to his development as a young man, as his character. And that's what puts me in awe, you know. And not only him, I mean, we got several kids like that. You don't want to just brag on him, but
Of course.
he's a great example for me to use the rest of my life with everybody else.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, of course, oh yeah, he loves the talent. He loves the talent. There's a quick story about that. And my God, no, we was up here, and I had Jeffrey Pittman, starting running back from Mississippi State, come down. He's training, and we got in there. We started jaw jacking. We started just talking stuff back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I said, KD, Jeffrey gonna beat you. He said, oh okay. Fast I haven't seen him run. Okay, he lost the race, but it was just by a hair, and he only lost due to technical things that Jeffrey knew how to run. With him being such an older, more developed player. But when we got inside, KD made it up in his mind, I'm not losing anymore. And we went on our vertical mat. He jumped higher than him. And then we did our single broad jump. He jumped farther than him. Until we got into our repeat broad jumps, and Jeffrey ended up got him because he knew how to do it. But with that being said, he's very, very driven, like a lot of other athletes, by competition. Right, and so I think that will pour into him also going into the school that he chose to go to at the University of Florida with the Florida Gators, and just basically that competition aspect of him. You're not going into a walk-in situation. You're going to have to compete, but he loves. That's where he thrives. That's where really and truly he's his best self at. And also when he went down, even when you made mention of that Knoxville game, I had, because I train kids from all over, I had put in that group message. I said, oh yeah, I'm talking smack. And one of the kids, a DB, he was like, we gonna smoke on that K2 pack. I said, whoo. I said, okay. Screenshot. Sent it to him. Oh, he was hot. He was pissed. And respectfully, he took the role, and him and Q took the role. 1-2 punch. There was no one without the other. And those two guys put the team on their back. And to even see Q, see his development, and see his selflessness throughout this process, because Q can go to any other school and could have been a Division I player, and to see his selflessness throughout this process right now speaks volumes into the type of character, the type of man, not only that KD will be, but also that Q Tim will be at the same time, because Q easily is a phenomenal athlete, if he had the opportunity of playing on the defensive side of the ball, would have kicked butt. But in the same instance, we as West Point, I tell any coach this, especially when it relates or pertains to Q, it was a need. and therefore you have to fit the need. And just like at Alabama, there's a lot of guys who probably could have played other positions and thrived, but we needed this position. So
I was a big proponent, of wanting Q to play linebackers. I felt like he could have been possibly the best linebacker in the state. And I'm telling all these college coaches this coming around that is recruiting, and I still believe he can do it, okay? Q would have done it. He would have done it. He'll play anywhere you put him, but he loved having that ball in his hands. And I tell you what he really liked, he loved us throwing him the ball. I've never seen Q drop a pass in practice. Now, I'm sure he has when I wasn't looking or whatever, but his hands, have you seen his hands? They're huge. He don't drop passes. And he can block, he can do a lot of different stuff, but you're right, he's very selfless. He don't have to get the fame, and I guarantee you this happened in the state championship game where I asked one of them on the sideline, I said, you went down because you knew KD was fixing to get the ball again, you wanted him to score, didn't you? And he said, yep. So, I mean, that's a true story happened. And they love each other, they're best friends, and they both pull for each other, but they pull for everybody out there. They're just, I don't mean this in a bad way, but they're sweethearts. I mean, they're just so nice and cordial, and I'm talking to other teachers and everybody. They're just great, and I'm going to miss them, but they rubbed off on the group coming behind them. They really rubbed off on them because I can see that this next year's group, the seniors are trying to act like them, trying to emulate them, and that's what it's all about, man. And I'll tell them, well, I'm retiring, but I'm going to be around the team, hopefully, and I'm going to tell this next group coming up, I'm going to say, we're going to go as our seniors go. And you want to be better than last year's seniors, you got big shoes to fill. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Let me ask you this. All right, and I just thought about this when you were talking about Alabama. Do you remember me picking you up on a Saturday morning in that little old Hyundai black car I had, and us going to Alabama?
Yes, sir.
I picked you up at your grandparents' house. Yeah. And we got in that thing, and I had to push the passenger seat all the way back, and your head was rubbing the ceiling. You remember that? We went all the way to Tuscaloosa and back. And was that the first trip you'd taken over there? Second trip. Yeah, that's right. And we had a lot of fun. Of course, I knew a lot of the Alabama coaches over there. Bo Davis, Coach Wright, Coach Judge, all those guys. And people don't know this story too. Coach Judge, talking about Joe Judge, he was at Alabama. I hired him at West Point, and he was my quarterback's coach for 3 weeks. When he left Mississippi State, I hired him over here. Of course, him and Coach Welch, Coach Morgan are all played together and buddies. And he was my quarterback's coach for 3 weeks before he went to Alabama. He texted me and said, Saban offered me a job. I texted him back, I said, I'm glad Saban took my recommendation. But then he went on to coach. He's at the Patriots now, but he was a head coach of the Giants and back. But it's just, and he texts me. We still text back and forth some. There are some really good people that understand and they respect us. I mean, he's the head coach. Was the head coach of New York Giants. He's got Super Bowl rings, but he respects West Point and our kids and what we do here. Because you got to be tough to play here. You got to be tough. But I remember that trip to Alabama and several others with other kids too. That that was a real big highlight of my coaching career, is being able to go to those places, because I got geeked up to go to Alabama now. I'm from North Alabama. In Alabama, you're either an Auburn fan or an Alabama fan, and you hate each other, right? And here, just like Ole Miss, Mississippi State. But I'm a fan of all of them because I know a lot of the coaches at all these schools, and we've got kids everywhere, and we want them to go everywhere they can to be successful. Because I knew you were a huge State fan when you went over to Alabama, and I know that I caught a little flack over it. But you know what? I was okay with it. Me and Coach Burton were for sure okay with it. Coach Burton's one of the biggest Alabama fans I know.
Massive. But yeah, no, it was It's very, very interesting you said that, because no, it's a lot of stories that go into me going and visiting Alabama and basically being around a lot of coaches that it was interesting to me because those coaches knew about West Point. It was like, oh yeah, we know all about West Point. It was like, it's a winning tradition. And I was like, yeah, you know, because you only know really your surroundings. So I knew Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and other Southern Miss, Jackson State, et cetera, Alcorn, knew about West Point, but to go over there and hear these coaches basically say, you know, like I know all about, and they was when to talk about Coach Allen. I was like, wow, I said, oh, you really know about what's really going on over here. But my second question about Katie, when it comes to the number 2, who is the best number 2?
Oh man, you gonna put me on the spot. We've had some good ones.
We've had some great ones.
Yeah, we've had some good ones, man. You got, of course, Justin Talkz, Marcus Murphy, KD, well, Forsyth, didn't he wear 2?
Yep.
I mean, Butterball was our starting center as a sophomore and our starting running back as a senior.
Yep.
It was crazy. Eris Williams, he wore 22, but
I'll put him in that category.
But we've had some good ones. Gosh, we've had some great kids, man. But they understand the importance of wearing that number, because we don't let just anybody wear that number. I got a question for you. I'm trying to skip who's the best, because I don't want to make anybody mad or hurt anybody's feelings. I'll get some phone calls when the people watch this now. But being a former player at West Point and going through what you went through at Alabama and Mississippi State, we talk about community pressure all the time. How stressful is it as an athlete, especially one of your better athletes here, you know, because we have, 80 guys on the team, but you know, you got 11 on offense, 11 on defense, probably 6 or 8 more, so you're looking at 40 kids that actually get on the field. How stressful is it to try to uphold, so to speak, the community pressure that's on y'all?
It was very, very, very interesting. The inputs that I would get, you know, from the community, all was wished to help me. All was wished to push me in the direction.
But did you realize it at that time?
No, I didn't. I didn't realize it, because in all honesty, it would push me towards their agenda.
Right.
Towards whatever school they probably filled and how they basically work a certain angle with me. And I understand it. So even when it comes to KD, it's certain things that I say to KD, and certain things like, I want him to come sit on the podcast, do a podcast. But I also understand that he's been put in a position to where everybody's trying to get something from him. And everybody's trying to take something from him. And I know how that feels. Mm-hmm. And he's going to a school to actually a coach that I played for, Coach Napier. That was my coach. So
go ahead. I got a story about him.
Yeah. But I know exactly how he feels. I know exactly how the community is supporting him. I know other parts of the community that hopes that he does great, but also is not really going to tune in that much. And I understand.
So he's probably going to have some haters in.
Oh, he's going to definitely have haters. When KD literally, I went down there to that game because I wanted to go support him at his All-American game. Mm-hmm. I went down to that game, and I went to took that picture, and as soon as he came back, because I drove back, as soon as he came back, and before he signed on the dotted line, it was a bunch of random calls calling my phone.
Yep.
Scott, how did you let him do this? Scott, you know the mistakes you made when you went to the University of Alabama. How you gonna allow for him to go make those same mistakes? I'm just click. I'm hanging.
I had to quit answering. Yeah. I had to quit answering my phone.
Yeah, I'm just like, because respectfully, you know, I'm like, what do you? For one, everything in life, my personal opinion, is about perspectives and angles and how you choose to look at it. Of course, you can walk into a situation with KD, but will you become a better person? Will you become a better man? Or will you continue to have the same exact vices that you had in high school, but now you're just playing? Because one thing about fame, success, and money, it just amplifies the person that you are.
Yep.
So with that being said, a lot of times, for me personally, it did me a lot of good to go sit down and be humble. It did me a lot of good, because I started to see things different respect. I started to value things I never valued before. I went from basically being put on this pedestal as the number one offensive tackle in the state and all this great stuff like that, and all these accolades, to looking around and everybody looked like me.
Yeah.
I would just say, when I came back home and just hearing and just feeling the the energy and the vibes from everybody that was around inside the community, it definitely helped me. But in some instances, it can hurt them depending on how they are too involved or overly involved in different areas, because you can find good in some areas and bad in others, and you just have to find a way to, or figure out a way to allow for certain things to attract to you and allow for that to propel you in the right direction. So that's what I would say about community pressure, Coach.
Yeah, as a coach, you know, I've always tried to protect the players from that, but I also reminded them, hey, you know where we're playing? We're in West Point, Mississippi. We play for our community, we play for our churches, we play for our city. And you know, there's a pride factor to that, but at the same time, I don't ever want it to come back on, because I've had guys sit in my office, and I'm not gonna mention names, high profile guys, that they're having panic attacks because they didn't perform well. Right. And somebody on social media is dogging them out.
I'm one of those. I'm a person, and I'll give you just a quick thing about that. I never known I had anxiety. So I came back home and I started basically doing talk therapy. So it's so interesting because 2019, I struggled with injury throughout my career. But 2019, when I was basically my last year at the University of Alabama, and it was fall camp, and I wasn't performing good just because my knees were hurting so bad. And come to find out, it was something underlying when I transferred home to Mississippi State, and I ended up having an operation needed to be done on it. But in that sense, I tell all my kids, injuries will cripple your mental. So therefore, you feel as if you should be able to perform this way, but mentally you can't get there. So if your mind can get there, your body would never follow. So with that basically being said, in 2019, it was one day after a fall camp, and it was so devastating to me that honestly, I no longer wanted to be here, because I tell all my kids this all the time, all my athletes all the time. When I looked around me, when I looked at my car, when I looked at my apartment, when I looked at my life, the only thing that was giving me that was football. So I prayed to God. I would do my readings and all that stuff like that, but subconsciously what became my God was football. And when football started to walk away from me, it's like I had nothing else to live for. So with that basically being said, I suffered a lot in that mental realm. I ended up coming home to Mississippi State, doing really, really good. Injured again, ruptured my patellar tendon, have another knee surgery, and it cripples your mind once again. So you go through these mental, I would say you start spiraling downhill. But luckily for me, I've always been an advocate of talk therapy. So of course, going to these high level prestige institutions, they have some of the best psychologists in the world, and you start to understand the mind. And you start to understand different breathing tactics and different things that can help you in areas for you to just get over the hump. So because a lot of times when I'm in my head, I always think the worst outcome of everything. Like even when I was like texting Phil this morning, I was like, he ain't gonna respond. Okay, dog, he respond. And I'm like, then I'm texting my guy about the video. I'm calling him on the phone like, he ain't gonna respond. Because that's just how I'm always wired to think the worst. So when the worst actually happens, I prepare myself for it. So, and it's bad, but that is how it is. But in the sense of that, in 2021, and it's to kind of lead into where I'm at today. In 2021, we in one-on-one pass rush. I think it was Bam I was going against, Miami Dolphins right now. Take my pass rush, and first rep, beat him. Second rep, it was really hard for me to bend, so therefore, he bull rushed me. But he bull rushed me. And he bull rushed me, my knee I couldn't take it. So with that being said, I lost the rep. But mentally, I went downhill really, really fast. I went out to the sideline. I took my helmet off. I was trying to throw it into the ground. I hit my knee. Out of all things, I hit my knee. My knee swelled up like a balloon. And Coach Miller, he's cussing and yelling, and I'm just hyperventilating at this point. Like I can't breathe, I can't function. LaQuinton Sharp, starting center at the time, he come up to me. He's like, just breathe, bro. Just breathe, bro. Just breathe, bro. Like, calm down. Like, cause I never experienced it before. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't function. After that day, I deleted all my social media accounts because I couldn't face, except for Instagram, and I couldn't face what other people was gonna say about me. right? Because I was once this, oh, Scott Lashley. Like, even to this day, folks are just, oh, Scott, you remember you played against Jeffrey Simmons? Oh, you remember when you did this? Oh, you remember you did that? You know what I'm saying? I always was, and it's like coming back home, those added pressures get into you. So right after I did that, Coach Miller get pissed off. He kicked me out of practice. Get your up out of here. Go. I go over there, Coach Dan, to Muscle Beach, and I leave Muscle Beach. I basically go inside. I leave practice completely. I'm done with football. Like, I don't want to play football at all. Like, not at all. And I went home, and I closed the door to my because we was in an apartment. I closed the door, and when I closed the door, I basically, as I walked in, I said, I don't have nothing to live for anymore. And with that basically being said, and one thing about it, my family, my auntie Alex, who was on my chest, she committed suicide and she killed herself. So mental health in my family is very, very, very prevalent. But with that being said, that was one of those things again that where only thing I could see was football. I had a whole degree. I was literally in master's program. I had a whole master's at this point, literally, and had a 4.1 GPA.
Yeah. But you felt like you couldn't do nothing else.
Yeah, but with that being said, I didn't see none of those things. I only can see what was in front of me at that particular time, and football was all I wanted to do. I would work out at Mississippi State, then I would call you, Coach, can you leave the door open? And I would literally come to West Point and work out again. I would have Charles Cross. I would have all these great athletes in the NFL right now to come to the high school. We've been work, because that's all I'm from West Point, so that's all I really know. Work. But I was working to control the narrative. I was working to hide something, and I wasn't trusting God, because football was my God. So therefore, with that basically being said, that carried me out through my whole senior year. And I said that day, and LaQuincy Sharp can say this, it was LaQuincy and Charles Cross was there. And I told them both, I said, I'm gonna finish the season out because it was a need for me to be out there, even though Cam Jones did an excellent job the year before, but they transitioned him to inside the guard. But with that being said, I told them that day, I said, after this season, I'm never playing football again. And when the season got over with, exactly what I did. And it mentally messed with me so much, I didn't want to come to West Point. I didn't want to go to Walmart. I didn't want to CVS. I would literally just ask people to do it for me. Hey, can you go pick this up for me? Can you go do this for me?
That's what I was going to say. God's got a plan for you too, and I think He's doing a really good job with that. Because you have been a joy, and I get emotional thinking about this, but it's been a joy for me having you there, having Jason, Marcus, all you guys coming back, because our players now really look up to y'all.
Definitely appreciate you, Coach, for you coming on here and talking to us, and also allowing for the community to see you in a different light. I definitely appreciate you, and like I'm going to say once again, I'm going to continue to say it, the most winningest coach, regardless of sport, regardless of anything in the state of Mississippi, regardless of level. I definitely appreciate you, Coach Chris Chambliss. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And also, guys, thank you guys for tuning in for this week's episode. Please stay tuned, and make sure you guys subscribe to this channel. We out.